Hey, Flying Free friends. This is Natalie Hoffman with FlyingFreeNow.com. I have a really good thing that I want to talk about today. A good question came in with one of my contacts who said that, well, has this ever happened to you? This is so typical, okay? Where you go into counseling with your spouse thinking that you can get help together, and your spouse's the different tactics that he's used on you in the past that are more overt, he now goes undercover and he becomes more covert. So your counselor is left feeling like, hey, he's really improved. But you're left feeling like nothing's changed at all. He's just gotten more subtle about it. One of the most common things that covert abusers do is lie. They lie by, sometimes it's just outright lying, but most of the time they just leave out information. They don't tell you what's going on. They give you, they spin the truth a little bit so it's not quite accurate. And they'll do that in front of the counselor, and they'll do that to you behind the counselor's back as well. So then when you bring something up and you try to point it out to them and say, but you said this, they'll say, well, no, this is what I really meant. Or, well, no, I'm sure I told you all that information. Or they try to, it's gaslighting, okay? So then you end up looking like you're a little bit loony in front of the counselor. And you might start feeling like, well, now what do I do? Now the counselor actually thinks he's changed. I know that he hasn't. How do you set boundaries with someone who is a covert liar like that? So the first thing we have to remember about boundaries, it's a super simple formula. Boundaries is basically making a request and then saying what you will do if that other person violates the request. Now, this is not a manipulation, okay? Boundaries has to do with your personhood, all right? It has to do with your house and yard, who you are as a person. So if someone is violating your personhood, basically coming into your house and yard, metaphorically speaking, and they are rearranging your flower garden, that's your responsibility to tell them, no, you need to go back to your own yard. If you want to rearrange a flower garden, rearrange your own. You can't rearrange mine. That's my responsibility. So so to set a boundary is basically saying, you need to leave my yard and go to your yard. And then so making the request. And then if you don't do that, here's what I will do. Okay. And then you give the thing that you will do if they don't get out of your yard. So when someone is lying to you, that qualifies as messing with your head, because they're coming in, they're messing with your psychological space, your mental space, and your emotional space by lying and withholding information and twisting the truth. All right. So it's well within your rights to request that they stop doing that. And if they say to you, I'm not doing that, I don't know where you're getting that idea from. What is that? That's a lie, okay? That's a lie. So right there, they've violated the boundary. Then you need to come up with the thing that you're going to do if they continue to do that. Now, here's the bottom line when it comes to all relationships. The person in the relationship that holds the most power is the one that cares the least. I know that sounds really harsh, but that's the way it is. And that's why your abuser has typically held power over you, because you care a lot and he cares the least. So if you want to take your personal power back, you need to not care, because we are Christians. I love Jesus. I want all of you guys to love Jesus too. I want us to be living our lives from the law of love. Okay. So we're not going to say, oh no, I don't care about this relationship and I don't care about you. That's not the answer. We don't want to become like our abusers. But what we do want to do is we want to let go. Okay. We need to be willing to let go of something that the relationship gives to us. All right. So if that's, maybe you have an abusive husband, but he gives you great sex. Maybe you have an abusive husband, but he helps you out with the chores. These guys are not all bad. They do good things. And they all do different good things. Okay. So some of them are good at like buying you lots of gifts, but they don't help out around the house. Some are great at helping around the house, but they'd never think to buy you a gift and they forget about your birthday. Some are, they work really hard and they make money to support the family. Some don't work at all and they require their wives to work to bring in the dough. Okay, so they're all different. But you need to think about the things that you bring to the table in the relationship and which one of those things that he likes the most And you need to be able to pull that away from him. But that means, and we all know what that means, it means then that he is going to withdraw some of the perks that you get out of the relationship. And you have to be willing to let those things go if you want to set boundaries. Now, the ultimate boundary, consequence, I should say, the ultimate consequence for a violation of a boundary is that you walk away from the relationship completely. And some of you have already done that. Some of you are thinking about doing that. Some of you are in the process of doing that. And some of you want to do it, but you're not able to do it. And some of you don't even want to do that. You want to figure out how to make this work. So everyone that's listening right now is in a different space. But everybody, no matter what space you're in, we can all think of things that we can withhold from someone if they violate our boundary. Okay? So maybe, I don't know if I never know if I can see your comments. I can see people that are watching, but like, hi Sheila and Melissa and Trina. But I'm wondering if you guys have some ideas. If you do, and maybe I can see comments, I don't know. But if you do, throw the ideas out down below the video. People who are watching later can read them. Okay, I can see comments. So Barbara says, they lie so well in court too. Yes. So what are some ideas of consequences that we could give to someone who's not telling the truth? All right. Can you guys think of any consequences? You could say, you know what? If you're not going to be honest with me about this situation, sometimes it can be, you can bring the consequence in depending on the situation that's involved. So like if they're withholding information from you about the kids, then you can, let's say that they're not coming forward and giving you all the information you need as far as when you're going to pick up the kids or drop them off again. Then you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. Part of the consequence is taking them at face value and letting things slip through the cracks. We don't do that, do we? Because we're managers. We manage the house, we manage all the kids, we manage all the paperwork, we manage all the meals. Sometimes we're managing the money. So we're the ones that are managing our own lives, and we're kind of meddling in their house and yard too by managing their lives and making sure that nothing slips through the cracks. What if a consequence is just letting things slip through the cracks and not managing them anymore? If they don't give you the information and you don't know, then I guess they're going to have to be late to something, or I guess you're not going to be there where they probably want you to be. All right. Yeah. Jennifer brings up a really good point to get things in writing. That is so important. And it's one of the things that I did towards the end of my relationship. I wanted all communication to be via email and now we do everything on our Family Wizard now that we're divorced, but everything has to be in writing. Even if you do text, you know what they'll do? Mine is notorious for doing this. He'll say, well, I didn't get that text in time, or my phone broke, or I never saw that text. So they come up with all kinds of excuses. And if you don't have confirmation or like proof that they saw it or whatever, then you're kind of in the hole. And they count on that. They count on all of the fog and the smoke screens and that works. And they know it works. It works for counselors. It works for pastors. It works for all their friends, but it can't work for you anymore. You have to make sure that they know that doesn't work with me anymore. I don't trust you. And here's the thing with liars. I tell this to my kids all the time because kids can lie too. I say, here's the thing. If I don't trust you, that's not my fault. All right? Because I do trust people that are honest with me, that are consistently honest with me. I trust them. I have no problem trusting them. And everyone else trusts them too, because they have proven that they are trustworthy. You've proven to me in the past that you're not trustworthy. So if I don't trust you, if you say something and I don't trust you, that's not on me. That's your problem. If you want me to trust you, your responsibility then is to be a trustworthy person. You're going to have to build that trust up over a long period of time. And that means that I never even think that you're lying to me. I never catch you in a lie. You're always upfront and honest, because here's the thing. We're not having these problems with everybody in our lives, are we? We're not having these problems with most people in our lives, unless we're getting out of just a dysfunctional community where everyone's pulling this crap. But for the most part, most people in this world are not sitting there purposefully trying to pull the wool over other people's eyes. At least I don't think so. I'd like to think that at least 50% of the human race is, are decent people. But, and so if we're having problems with someone, that's not because we're just scared and we can't trust anybody, because we can all think of lots of people that we can trust. So that's on them. That's their responsibility to build that trust. It's not on you. And if they whine and complain, well, I just think that you should trust me and you should forgive me, and you just need to be like, well, I would love to do that. And I can't wait to do that. I can't wait for you to build that trust back up. Let's start today. That's what you do. You always put it back on them, because they are constantly going to be trying to put the responsibility for their crap onto you. Don't take it. Be like a duck that the water just slips right off and back into the water. It doesn't stick to you. Okay, let's see what other people are saying. Yeah, they can say the same thing about email that they do about text, Darlene. And so it is hard. I mean, it's hard, but it's better, at least in writing, you have a record of what you tried to communicate to them, okay? Because that's the other thing too that these kinds of people will do. They'll twist your words, and you can go back, if everything's in writing, you can go back and say, well, actually, I didn't say that, okay? And by the way, just a tip on writing and communicating with disordered people like this, you need to keep your messages to them very, very brief. So make it a game. I always tell people, this can be really fun. And ask me how I know. I've made bazillions of mistakes in this, because I will just go on and on and on. My kids will tell you this, all right? Well, you're probably noticing that I do that here on Facebook Live. But here's the thing. In your written communication, this is your chance to practice saying what you need to say with as few words as possible and zero emotion, like no emotion. You don't want them, and no insinuations, okay? I still have to do this, you guys. I'll write out an email or a text or something on Our Family Wizard, and I'll start writing in these little insinuations or these little jabs, because they just want to come out of me, okay? And then I have to go back, reread it, and get rid of all of it, even though it would be so much fun to send, and it would just poke him and get him back for the crappy things he just said to me. I have to get rid of those things. Do I always get rid of everything? No, but I really do. Now I'm up to maybe 90% of the snark I remove. You know what? I think it's more like 95, maybe 96% of the snark I've removed from my written communication now. So I'd like to get it up to 100%. And, and maybe I will. Maybe when I'm like 96, I'll be at 100%. But for now, I think 96% is pretty good. And I think you guys want to work at trying to get it up there. It's really fun to see if you can do it. Get the message across without any snark. So you don't want to trigger them, but you do want to be an adult. So try to think of yourself, if you still feel like you're a child and you're being treated like a child and you view yourself as a child, start viewing yourself like a queen. A queen leaves her castle and goes out to visit the people in her land, and she brings a basket full of fruit. Try seeing yourself like that. You're going to bring a basket of fruit to people. You're going to love them. You're going to sit with them. If the little kids that are poor and are dirty and are broken, if they're throwing rocks at you, does that make you feel bad about who you are as the queen? No, you feel sad for them. That it doesn't tell you anything about you. If a poor, dirty child throws a rock at you, what it tells you is that that child is probably being abused and is in a really sad place in their life. So think of people like that. You are a queen. Your job is to love people, but also we don't enable people, okay? So, and some kids, doing the queen analogy again, a metaphor, some little children, you might be able to take on your lap and love them and get close to them, and they might grow up into an adult, a responsible adult. But some children or people are not going to be like that. They're going to grow up and they're going to be thieves and murderers, okay? Those are not the people that you're going to be friends with. Those aren't the people that you're going to give fruit to. So you need to try to, see yourself in the true light of who you are. And then your responses and your communication with people will come from a place of, I'm an adult. I talk like an adult. I act like an adult. I don't need your approval. I don't need, and I'm not gonna pay any attention when you give jabs. Not gonna pay any attention to that because that's irrelevant. It doesn't jab me because that just tells me something about you. It doesn't say anything about me. All right, let me just look at some of the questions because I saw another one up further that was longer from Melissa. Let's see. She said some ideas are to stop making their dinner, doing their laundry, sleeping in a separate bedroom, walking away from a disrespectful conversation. Perfect. Those are all excellent ideas. Thanks, Melissa. And Melissa has experience with that. And I think some of the rest of you guys have had experience with that too. Now, setting that consequence, you can't bluff these guys, okay? They're counting on you bluffing them. If you threaten, I'm not going to make you dinner. If you're going to lie to me, I'm not going to make you dinner. If you're going to do this, then I'm not going to make you dinner. I'm not going to do your laundry. If you say that and you don't follow through, they're just like children. They're going to walk even more all over you. And also, here's the other thing that they're looking for. They're looking to bully you back into submission, bully you back into your place as a scared. And by the way, again, I have to always give this caveat. If bullying for them means that they're going to hurt you physically, or withhold good things from you, like your medication or medical treatment or anything like that, if that's what bullying for you is in your home, then this talk, you need to be much more careful about boundaries that you set up. I would suggest talking to a local DV shelter and getting some ideas. So I don't recommend setting boundaries if they're going to hurt you, but if how they hurt you is covert abuse, where it's just more lies, where it's just shaming you and all of that kind of stuff, that's horrible. It's horrible. But you want to get to a place where those things that they're doing to you are less and less affecting who you are as a person. They're still going to hurt. Now, and I have to say, I practiced doing this. I had coaching for a year and a half before I separated physically from actually it was 2 years. I had coaching for 1 year, then 2 years, coaching for 1 year, then an in-house separation where I wasn't sleeping with him for another year. And during those 2 years, I was definitely setting boundaries and giving and increasing the consequences. The consequences did not faze my ex, didn't faze him at all. He just got worse and worse and worse until I finally had to physically separate from him. And so my setting boundaries and setting consequences made him get meaner. And he also then not only got meaner in the home, but he also started launching a smear campaign to discredit me in the eyes of people at my church. And he was very successful. He was wildly successful at it. So you have to be willing to lose a lot. But it's, again, you've got to weigh out what's important to you, okay? Your sanity or losing dysfunction that is probably not serving you well anyways. I went from being a scared woman, insecure woman, to being, I think I'm pretty badass now. And I don't really care. I don't care what my ex thinks, and I don't care what the people from my old church think. I don't care what my family of origin thinks. I really don't. Why? Because I like how I think about myself. And more importantly, I like how God thinks about me, and his opinion matters to me than everyone else's. So if you want to go to that space, and I really think some of you who are listening, I know that you're thinking deep down inside, this is something that God has been trying to speak to me about since I was a young woman. And I just haven't been able to get it from my head into my heart. This is why, you guys, this is what's keeping you stuck. So you need to go through the furnace to come out on the other side, where all of this truth is going to go from here, what you know intellectually, and it's going to be part of who you are, part of the fabric of your being. And then from out of that place, you will live your life. and you will fulfill the destiny that God has created you for. And that's all I have for today. Fly free.